Well, the recent rashes of hot car deaths have raised a lot of questions, left maybe some of you wondering just how could this happen? Well, I sat down with Dr. Drew recently to discuss the case of Justin Ross Harris, the father accused of leaving his 22-month-old son in his hot car for hours. He's been charged with murder. Here's what Dr. Drew had to say.
Apparently, he forgot the child was in the car seat in the back of the automobile and went to work, left work sometime around 4:15, only to discover the child or the infant, the 22-month-old, in the back seat.
You know, I want to get your take on also another thing that we're seeing all over the place, and this has been trending constantly, unfortunately, because we're seeing so many of them, are the hot car deaths. Yeah. And we always know this happens during the summer, and it is so tragic every single time, but I think the Justin Ross Harris case has taken this to a whole nother level. Yes. Psychologically, you know, you ask the question whether or not dads can go through postpartum depression, and that could lead them to make sort of mistakes that we say a lot of times women that go through postpartum depression could face.
Yes.
Is that something that you...
Postpartum depression, the biological changes that a woman goes through during and then after pregnancy causes massive changes in brain chemistry. Men have nothing, underlying nothing like that. Now, the stress, and by the way, you know, postpartum psychosis and postpartum depression, if you've ever seen that, they are profound. I mean, people are just leveled by this. Men have nothing like that. However, they can have a depressive episode, either dealing with the stress of having a child or realizing that they've got a big responsibility now, or dealing with maybe a wife, a mother, you know, the child who may be suffering a depression. Men can have a depressed mood. They can be distracted. That could add to the risk for this kind of thing. But in the case of the Harris case, no. That guy's a sex addict. Let's be fair.
Let's talk about that. The addiction, the place he had to have been mentally.
He is sexting. He's preoccupied. He's spinning plates. I mean, he was sexting multiple women, including knowing he was sexting with somebody underage. You don't think that was occupying some mental space in his head? So he was doing this all the time to the point where he could, it's like any addiction. It becomes such a preoccupation. It becomes such a focus. It shrinks into, their world shrinks into just going after their addictive process. All the other priorities diminish, including, in the case of a drug addict, even their hygiene and their nutrition. In the case of a sex addict, their important relationships, their jobs, everything starts to suffer. Their financial circumstances, their legal circumstance. And in this case, it was just enough to tip him away from doing the appropriate child care, making a huge mistake, and there's a death because of his addiction.
And some people may say it's possible in a minute from when he went from the Chick-fil-A to work that he could forget. That's possible with an addiction.
Absolutely. I mean, again, you got to remember, with addiction, all the usual priorities diminish and one priority emerges, which is the addictive process. And, you know, people that are involved with addicts of any stripe have to realize that let's say it's a drug addict, that individual, let's say it's your husband, loves the drugs more than he loves you.